Hello, y'all. I'm so excited to be going live with Dr. Candice Cooper Lovett. Oh, I'm so excited. We're going to be talking about something so good, so juicy, the intersection between sensuality and sexuality. I love this. I love this. I love this. So, if you're coming on, y'all know how I do it. I love to have us all talk and share. I love for you to ask any questions that you might have. But let's go ahead and start. Dr. Candice, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
Sure. And thank you so much, Doc, for having me on here and have an opportunity to speak and have a conversation about this. I'm really excited about it. And as was mentioned, I'm Dr. Candice. I guess you consider me a serial entrepreneur. So I have a group practice in new creation. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and certified sex therapist. I also have the Tantric MFT, which is the energy healing and energy work practice. I have Dr. Cooper Lovett, my consultation speaking, and then the two ladies with my healing partner, Chantel, as well. So, I do a lot of things. I've been a therapist for 20 years now, and I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. I have a 4-year-old going on 5. I have a couple of things. I'm a busy bee as always, but I definitely, all the things that I do is integrated in holistic wellness, mind, body, spirit. So even in my therapy, I even incorporate energy work as well with my clients. So that's me in a nutshell.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Awesome. Welcome so much. So it's so interesting when I was looking at your page on Instagram, I saw that we have so much in common between the Tantra. You're an herbalist as well.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
and so, I am, for those of you who don't know me, y'all should know me by now. Come on now. For those of you who don't know me, I am a tantric therapist. So my background is in psychotherapy. So I have my LCPC, licensed clinical professional counselor. And then I did a postgraduate degree in transpersonal psychology. I'm a Reiki master, a lot of different things. Did a medicine woman training in Brazil. And now I am actually studying Haitian folkloric herbal medicine. I'm doing a 9-month apprenticeship. So going more into herbalism, learning how to make tinctures and
Mhm.
baths and different things like that. So I'm really excited on that from the Haitian perspective, connected to my roots. So, when I
Absolutely.
was thank you. So when I was looking at your page and I saw that tantric shaman like me, heart
Yes,
work practitioner, Usui
yes,
Reiki master like me,
yes,
oracle teacher,
yes,
and herbalist like me.
yes,
I was like,
yes.
oh, I can't wait to talk to you. This is going to be so great. This is going to be so juicy.
Yes, definitely. It's exciting. I love to talk about all things sex and sensuality. So that's my jam. So it was great, the topic. And I'm like, oh my God, this is great. So I was looking forward to this today.
Yes, yes. So what made you decide to become a sex therapist? Like, so,
Yeah.
growing up, right?
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, I used to watch Dr. Ruth, and I love me some Dr. Ruth,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes,
But
yes.
when
She
I
was
decided
one.
to become a psychotherapist, I didn't even know there was a whole branch of sex therapy. So I just
Hmm.
did the traditional route. But like, what
Hmm.
made you like? How did you learn
Yeah,
about it? How did you become a sex therapist?
absolutely. Definitely. So I knew like from a young age, like I was always fascinated about sex and interested in it, but from more of I always joke and say I'm a nerd, but from like a biological, physiological perspective, I wanted to understand the processes of sex and sexuality. And so I was that kid at the age of 13 watching real sex and stuff on HBO. I had no business
Me
watching.
too. Me too. Right?
Yeah, it got me open to that world, but it was like some interesting things that was happening on there. And so when I got to college, when I decided I wanted to be a psych major and go into the field of mental health, I was very fascinated with sex and sexuality. So I took a biopsych class on sexuality, as well as a couple of other classes about sex and sexuality during my undergraduate career. And so I reached out to ASEC, which was still, I'm not saying it was fairly new, but it was still budding, right? It was not what it was or is today, and reached out to the woman and asked her, like, hey, I was curious. is there a profession of sex therapy? I had saw sex therapists on Real Sex actually. So it was like, oh, what is this? And so I reached out to them and I asked them like, how can I go about becoming a sex therapist? And she was like, well, your best track is to go the marriage and family therapy track, a lot of the courses that we require, yada yada and all that. But I've always just had an interest in sex and sexuality. Like I was the one in my friend group as a teenager knowing when I was ovulating. So it's just like, how
Wow.
did she know this? So it was always something I knew that I could be good at and assist people in who wanted to get to a different space within their sexuality and sensuality.
Oh, awesome. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
Yes.
So it's interesting because for me, I didn't necessarily always know that had this interest in
Mhm.
sexuality. I grew up very much a tomboy,
Mm,
and
mhm,
but I always knew that my calling was to help people, right? I
mm,
was always the one that my friends would come to for advice when things
mhm,
were going on, and I would talk to them. But I also had a lot of sexual energy, so I was very
mm,
different from my siblings in the
mm,
sense I was very sensual. I was
mm,
okay with using, um, half shirts with my
mm,
and things like that.
mhm.
Whereas my family was very conservative. And
Conservative.
so I was always very sensual and I was always making sexual jokes and comments. And it just came natural.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
so for me, it wasn't until I moved to Brazil well, even before I went to India before moving to Brazil, and
mhm,
tantra kind of came on my path. Like I met someone,
mhm,
we had a little tantric experience,
mhm,
and then in
mhm,
Brazil I learned tantra, and I was like, oh, this is right in line with
mhm,
what who I am. So
mhm,
it was
mhm.
really,
That's
really
good.
good. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. It's like it's a hand and like it fits, like it was always meant to be, kind of.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So those of you who are coming on, go ahead and say hi. Let us know you are here. Um, if you have any questions for us, let us know. If you
Mhm,
are familiar with Tantra, Reiki, let us know. I want to know who's on here and
mhm.
what you know. So let me ask you a question for
Yeah.
you, Dr. Candice.
Yes.
What does sensuality mean to you beyond the physical or sexual realm?
Mm. Yeah. So for me, like sensuality is like it can be very much a spiritual experience, right?
Mhm.
And so, um, and for me, they're kind of like sensuality is spirituality, sexuality is spirituality. So for me, like if we take off the physical and the sexual, hi Mia,
Hi,
we
Mia.
that it leaves the spiritual cloak, right? And so sensuality to me is like I can have the experience of pleasure and desire in these things, but it's like a spiritual desire, a spiritual sensation of pleasure from the divine, right? So it's an experience, it's a divine experience, if that
Yes,
makes
it is. Mhm.
and right to because I've studied like a lot of stuff about the divine and sensuality and even our own sensual energy and how spirit can facilitate in that. And
Yeah,
so for me, I'm heavily spiritual as it relates to that stuff for
right.
sure. That's the intersection I see. It's more like we take those things off, we're strictly dealing in the spiritual now, in those energies that can bring about or
Mhm.
help us experience ourselves in our own sensuality.
Right. I love that. I love that because so many people separate
Yes.
sensuality or sexuality from spirituality, but it's all connected. It's
Yes.
all connected. And so
Absolutely.
when we learn to manage and work with our sensual energy, our sexual
Mhm.
energy, we become more powerful. We become more spiritual,
Mhm.
right? Because
Mhm.
we learn how to have a deeper experience, right?
Mhm.
We have a deeper experience with our loved ones, our friends, our family, and with the universe, with the planet, with everything around us, because
Mhm.
everything is connected. And that's one of the things that I learned with tantra, working with tantra, and I don't get to talk about tantra enough, and so that's why I'm
Yeah.
excited to be on
Of
here with
course. Yes, I love it.
you. I know because how many spaces can we talk about tantra and sexuality,
Yes.
right? And so even I went to earlier today, I went to a happy hour with a friend of mine who's in town, um, and I was at the bar, and it was really quick because I had a client, and then I had this right. So I had a client
Mhm.
at 7 p.m. But really, we went to the bar, and he brought up, he was like, "Oh yeah, she's a tantric therapist," and then people at the bar started asking. I was like, oh, I got a lot. Next thing you know, we're talking about how women don't have orgasms, or how many
Mm-hmm,
women
mm-hmm,
can't have
mm-hmm,
orgasms.
mm-hmm,
Men are only ejaculating and not having orgasms a lot of times.
mm-hmm.
Well, they
Yep,
don't realize
yep.
that. And so we're at the bar talking about this.
That's
And
great.
it was like, how often can we like just never happen,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
But
To have the space to talk about it, and I get excited, like, whoa, like, and I even want to get extra, like, let me do a sample.
I know, right? I know, right? So hi Temperance, hi Mia. So as you guys are coming on, I know other folks are on here too. Go ahead and say hi. If you have any questions, I mean, as we're talking, questions might come up, but if you have questions now, this is a great time for us to answer that. Like this is a great time for us to answer questions that you might have about your sexuality, about your sensuality, and so many times women, one of the things I was saying to one of the ladies at the bar, was I've had clients in their 40s and 50s who
Mm-hmm,
never
mm-hmm.
had an orgasm.
Yep, yep,
Right. And
yep. Mm-hmm,
I had a client one time who had painful sex, and her
mm-hmm,
gynecologist wanted to give her Botox,
mm-hmm.
shoot
Yeah,
Botox there.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
that's going to make it
There are other
numb.
ways.
You're
Yes,
not going to feel any pleasure. You won't have pain.
but you
You
won't feel pleasure either.
won't feel
Yeah,
pleasure.
yeah,
And so
definitely.
she did work with me. So a lot of you, I haven't been talking about this so much, but I do tantric massage. I haven't talked about it lately. But we're
Mm-hmm,
doing womb work, breath work, tantric
mm-hmm,
massage. And just through that, I helped her understand, and my background in psychology, right?
mm-hmm,
Helped her understand where things were coming from that was causing the pain and helping her to release the pain with vaginal mapping, clitoral mapping, doing the tantric massage. So these were things that we could let go of the pain and understanding the root cause. So within 8 seconds, she calls me up, Prandara. I'm I'm able to ride my husband now.
mm-hmm. That's good.
It's good. Like she
That's
can ride
amazing.
her husband and
Mm-hmm,
feel pleasure.
mm-hmm,
Right?
mm-hmm.
And
That's the best.
that's the best. Like pleasure is our birthright,
It sure is.
right?
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
so not only, so I'm kind of going off the question that I asked you,
Mm,
but it is our
mm-mm.
birthright, okay? Um,
No, yeah.
and it's okay to feel pleasure, but also when we connect to our tantric energy, our kundalini energy,
Mm-hmm,
that is our vital life force energy. And that
mm-hmm,
helps us to say, okay, I want to be healthy, or I want to buy a house in a couple months. It helps you to learn how to channel
mm-hmm.
that energy so you can manifest things.
Absolutely. The sexual energy is definitely healing and manifesting energy. I would say, Kundalini is a refined version of chi. So it's life force energy,
Mm-hmm.
and then in that space, and it's this thing that I've learned about mastering your own pleasure. And for the longest, I've always believed that, oh, yeah, you master your own pleasure because you're taking charge, we're responsible for our own pleasure. But no, mastering your own pleasure is literally feeling good in your body every day. Because literally every day, at some point, in and out, I am in an orgasmic state. And so it's just because it's just my everyday normal, but I already feel good in my body. So I'm mastered my own pleasure. So when I have a partner, I'm simply just sharing in that pleasure. I'm
Exactly.
already feeling good.
So, what's one of the biggest things that's helped you to feel good in your body, to
Mm.
feel pleasure in your body?
Yeah, really, it's kind of this process of like somatization, right? Like being present in my body, being
Yeah.
aware in my body, being in tune with my body, but I have to feel me, right? And I recognize because, one of my specialties in sex therapy practice is female sexuality and pleasure. So a lot of women disassociate
Yes.
in pleasurable
I was
experiences,
one of
right?
those women.
Yeah, yeah. It's so many stories I hear. It's like she's checked out, even so much so to the point where she has a great experience. Still, I had a client still checked, and she said, I could tell the sex was great, but I
Mhm.
was gone because that was what she was used to doing, with prior
Right.
partners who didn't really honor her or her body and things like that. And so now she has a partner who does. She's still checking out. And so somatization for me was very important to stay present in my body, to be very aware, to be very in tune with me,
Yeah.
as well as understanding and feeling what my sexual energy feels like outside without any outside influence or manipulation, but my own sexual energy and
Right.
understanding what that feels like, being able to manipulate it, being able to bring it up and down. And I call her my mother Oshun. She taught me a breath exercise one night. I was laying in bed and I heard some say, breathe into your heart and bring it down into your womb. I was about to bring myself to orgasm. I said, "Oh, I gotta stop this breath." So, but it was teaching me about how to store and cultivate and build pleasure in my own body by staying present.
So that's the biggest thing. I just had to send this.
Yeah, no problem.
You saw me looking down. I was
Yes,
sending this live to someone.
yes, definitely.
Another person I know who's a sex therapist. I was like, "We're on live now. Come watch us." I'm with another sex therapist. So I was like, "Let me."
Oh, great.
She's actually my cousin.
Oh, nice, nice. Yes, definitely. But that's definitely the process. Yeah, it's about being in tune with self, being centered and grounded and present with yourself in your own body, and to also experience your sexual energy, the masculine and the feminine, and how they intertwine with one another in
Yeah.
that space too.
I definitely agree with that. I think that's really important. I know for me, and those of you who are on real quick, share this YouTube with other folks. Tell other folks to come on because sharing is caring. Let's get
Mhm.
folks on here. And if you have questions, again, I'm gonna keep saying this. If you have questions, ask us our questions. Okay. Renee, I like how you said pleasure is your birthright. Can you explain how to not feel guilt or embarrassed when engaging in pleasure, whether it's sexual or not? Okay, yes. Okay, so I love this question. Thank you,
Mhm.
Temperance. I love this. It is our birthright, right? And so many of us, and I'll let you answer this as well, but let me just
Mhm.
go real quick.
Mhm.
Um, so many of us, because of conditioning, right, we've learned to feel guilty about our sexuality. And
Mhm.
so media makes us feel like this is something to be guilty of, feel shameful about. Don't talk about this. And this is why I was saying, um, how often can you go to a bar and just talk about it? But like, I'm very open and I'll have these conversations, but I can tell sometimes when people are like, ooh, feeling uncomfortable. And so I try not to like, get them to feel too uncomfortable, but this should be natural conversation. This should be conversations that we have with our kids. Parents should be
Mhm.
having these conversations. And I grew up Catholic, right? So there was a whole lot of guilt that I had to deal with. My parents were Catholic and they were like, oh, sex is a sin. So it comes from the church as well, right? Sex is a sin. You're going to go to hell. You should only do it for procreation. But in my opinion, the church, and nothing against the church, but the church knows and people know how powerful your sexual energy is, right? And so one of the ways to be able to control us and dominate us is to close that sexual energy, because our sexual energy is a very powerful energy. And so when they start to say our sexual energy is evil, you're going to hell, that's a way that they can dominate and control us. And so they brought in all of this stuff to make us feel ashamed, embarrassed about it. Social media, the not so the, well, the social media before with television,
Mhm.
in terms of that, you would see. But sex sells. They use sex to sell
Mhm.
products. But then at the same time, they're making us feel guilty on a personal level, on an individual level about our sexuality, right? But it's such a powerful thing. Um, and so when we talk about everything is sexual energy, everything, creation is sexual energy. So when I
Yep.
talk about sexual energy, it's not just penetration, penis and vagina penetration, sexual energy. And so understanding that sexual energy is something that we are here for, saying, okay, and this is my power. It helps us to connect to it and be in it. So I'll let you answer, and then I'm gonna go back to what I was gonna say about the somatic stuff. Go ahead.
Yes, definitely. No, I'm in agreement with that. And because being a family therapist, everything for me is relational. And so it's like, what is my relationship with pleasure? What is my relationship with my sexual self, with my sensual self? And how can I rectify that? Right. And I'm always looking at self. If I am embarrassed or feeling guilty, what is that inside of me? What is that? Like, was it from the church? Was it from society? Because purity culture is real. And I have a couple of clients in my practice who are virgins, and we're doing energy work together. And I have one now. She's like my top student in that way, but her sexual energy is like, oh my gosh. But she had this purity thing going on. Like, it's not okay to feel pleasure. It's not okay to be in this space. But now she one of my top people, when it comes to sexual energy, because she's a powerful manifester of that. And so it was her changing her relationship with her own sexual self, even though she's a virgin, and her sensual self, because those selves still exist in my relationship to sex and sexuality. Where like you shared, right? It's something, sex positivity is important, right? I have a 4-year-old. I'm already talking to him about age appropriate
Yeah.
sex topics. Penis, I'm not saying cookie, I'm not saying I'm saying what it is. So
Right.
it's just more or less that when we teach sex positivity, it creates an opportunity to not have shame or not
Right.
have embarrassment, to make the things that happen in the dark come to light. Sex is something we do. That's how we get here, and when it comes to sex, the physical sense, but also energetically, like you share, it's creation. God created it. Creation is sexual energy, manifestation, all these things.
Exactly, exactly. It really is. And so I know Mia said something. We're going to get on that too.
Yes.
But if you're here and you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can receive notices for when I have my upcoming lives. Okay, and so you were talking, I might have forgot what I was about to say, but you were
Somatic.
talking about the somatic, oh,
Mm-hmm.
being in your body. So that was one of the things I used to dissociate a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I used to dissociate and I wasn't really in tune with my body. And large in part was because, again, I grew up Catholic, all of this guilt. And I remember I didn't want to have sex until I got married. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Lord, I haven't been married and I'm 50, so I would still be a
Mm-hmm.
virgin. A good thing I didn't wait. I stopped waiting. But at that point, it was like I didn't want I wanted to wait until I got married. But then at the same time, I wasn't finding myself in relationships where I felt worth like that person was worthy of me to get
Mm-hmm.
married. And plus I had a lot of zest for life to like travel
Mm-hmm.
and learn different things and
Mm-hmm.
so it just hasn't happened. And so
Mm-hmm.
but then I noticed when I did start having sex, I started having painful sex. It was painful. And I would go to the doctor, and my gynecologist would be like, "Oh, just change positions and whatever." So there was no real, okay, this is helping me. It wasn't getting to the root of it. And the
Mm-hmm.
root was my sexual shame and guilt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the thing when I started working with tantra and sacred sexuality, it started to help me with that, and it started to help me feel better. And a big part of it was connecting to my body and starting
Mm-hmm.
to be in my body because I would dissociate. And like I got to the point where I would just have sex and I wasn't even here. I'm like thinking about something else, or I'm not even feeling in my body. And then I couldn't even touch myself. And I remember when someone reached out to me, a friend of mine, because I had a lot of sexual energy, right? Reached out to me. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't even working with Tantra or anything. And she was like, "Oh, I just started this magazine, Corset Magazine. Can you write on it about self-pleasure, masturbation?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, I don't even masturbate. So I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
have to start masturbating so I can write this article." And so that really was when I really started. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to connect to my body. And that's when I started reading different things, connecting and seeing what I like, what feels good to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so many times, and I've had clients who's always left their pleasure into the hands of their partners, allow their partners to help them discover what feels good. Because of that guilt to touch themselves, that shame.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so this this is a natural part of us. This is natural. It's sexuality. And for women, we have a clitoris. And its
Mm-hmm.
sole purpose is for pleasure.
Pleasure.
Pleasure. So you can't tell me that there's something wrong with this if God created us with something that gives us just pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With
Right?
about 40,000 nerve endings in it.
Exactly. More
Yeah.
nerve endings than the penis has. But the
Mm-hmm.
penis has about half of the nerve endings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
feels pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
But that clitoris, we feel a lot of pleasure.
And it's much bigger than the glands.
Yes, exactly. All right. So Mia said, and you guys coming on, hello. Say hello. Let us know what you're here. Let us know who's on and feel free to ask questions. Mia, one of my best experiences was a yoni massage. Yes. And let me tell you, real quick, but before I finish reading, when I learned how to do tantric massage, I learned how to do it in Brazil. I love doing it, and I prefer working with women only because I work with men too. So I do
Mhm.
tantra massage on men and women, lingam massage on men, yoni massage on women. But I love doing with women because women come to me and they have so many blockages, and to help them release that blockage and to feel that pleasure is so great. Men will come to me because they kind of want a happy ending, and I'm like, I don't do
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm here for. You can go someplace else for that.
Yes.
So it's a lot of, oh gosh, I gotta go through this whole thing and vet them and screen them out to really work with people who have serious sexual dysfunctions. With a man, they have to have a true sexual dysfunction to work with. Like, I'm not here for happy endings. Like,
Mhm.
um, so it was an unexpected experience that I signed up for at a women's retreat. It was after a significant breakup, and it helped clear past energy. And it does that. Like you would be so surprised. Yoni massage really clears up past energy. I've worked with women who's been sexually molested, raped, sexually abused, and we've done tantric massage, and it helped them to release that and to now go on to be able to have a better sexual life. If you are in the Atlanta area, hit me up. And speaking of retreats, I got my next retreat coming up January 27th to February 5th in Brazil. We're going to be doing a plant medicine retreat. So we're going to be doing cacao, ayahuasca, hape, kambo. And if you have questions about it, ask on here and I'll answer it. But I'm not going to go all into details right now because of this. Or you could send me a DM because we want to stay focused on this. But that retreat is coming up, and we're going to be also working on tantric energy, doing breath work and meditations and things like that. So thank you for that, Mia. All right. Mia also says, right, it's such a spiritual experience. It really, 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 really is. All right. So, and I love that you do somatic work because that's really important. Um,
Mhm.
that's really important. Um,
Yeah, that breath work and stuff. Yeah, it includes the breath. All I mean, energy, breath. Yeah, absolutely. All these all intertwined, especially with trauma, because I get a
okay.
lot of
So speaking of trauma, I got a question, another question here. In what ways does unprocessed trauma block our ability to fully feel and receive pleasure or spiritual connection?
it. Yeah, trauma creates to me, and I try to use different, like I say, barriers or you know, zones that are kind of thicker than others to get through and penetrate. Like I said, I attract, like especially in my tantra practice, in my energy healing practice, I say a lot of women who have never had an orgasm, mostly clearly, and if they have, they were alone. And so a lot of those type of women and who have trauma histories. And so, it's like you said, the womb mapping, the yoni mapping, and things like that, and having the ability to be able, I use props. I mean, I have props. I use little props such as this, even energetically. If I'm doing I'm literally,
Yeah.
doing different things to assist. But the thing about it is that trauma can create walls, right? And so even when you're thinking, with someone on the table, because most of my stuff is touchless. So even in that, energetically, I had a woman and she had womb trauma, and I do womb space healing as well. And so I could feel all her orgasms because they were all coming to me. I'm like, whoo, but it was like bouncing off like a brick wall. But
Yeah.
I knew at the same time it was chiseling away some of the stuff, the trauma and the things, because not only was she carrying her trauma, to me with womb healing, you're carrying the trauma of the
Yes.
women who came before you.
Hmm.
So it's all of that is rooted in there. And I feel like it is a barrier because it's like pleasure and safety was not a thing, right?
Right.
It was like pleasure or anything sexuality is not safe for me. So in order to feel safe, in order for me to feel free, I need to feel safe. So if I
Yeah.
don't feel safe, I'm not going to be free, right? And so
Right.
that can create some issues. And I tell people, even with tantra work, like the goal is to turn pain into pleasure, right? But
Yeah.
sometimes it's not pleasurable at first. I have some clients, I've been seeing her for a couple years now. Now she's finally orgasmic, as when we worked together. But it was because of all the work we had to do to kind of pull away some of those layers of trauma, to feel safe within her own body, to know when she's safe and when she isn't. And as a trauma informed therapist, when you experience a lot of trauma, the amygdala in the brain gets bigger, so it can't decipher danger from safety.
Right.
So now we have to, provide a safe space.
Exactly.
So it's a lot of things with that.
I love that. Thank you. Do you take
Mhm.
insurance or you see everybody out of
I
pocket?
do. No, I take it. Well, for the tantra work, that's out of pocket. But as far as therapy, yes, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Aetna, United, and Cigna, or Evernorth,
Good.
as they
Okay,
call
awesome.
it.
That's good to
Yes,
know. So y'all, if y'all need a
yes.
therapist, I don't take insurance.
Oh yeah, I understand. You listen.
Out of pocket. But if you got insurance and you need insurance, hit Dr. Candice up, okay? I'm like, I might hit her up.
Oh yeah,
But
listen.
for real, like for real,
Yeah.
like it's so funny because everybody needs a therapist, right? And
Yes. Yes.
um, it's so funny because I've actually recorded myself, and then I'll listen to my recordings to do the work on myself. But I'm like, no, I probably need a therapist to like
Yeah, definitely. Just the process.
just the process.
Listen, yeah, and I love mine. Listen, I with her faithfully. I said she with me for life.
Yeah,
So yeah, good therapists. Therapists need therapists too. So absolutely.
therapist too. So I might hit you up because I got United Healthcare.
Oh yeah,
You see if
please
you
do.
take mine.
Yes, I got you.
Awesome, thank you. So so like you're saying, so trauma stays in our body for at least 7 generations, right?
Mhm.
And so our bodies have cellular memory, and it
Yes.
holds on to the trauma in that cellular memory. So and so that trauma blocks us. And like you were saying, sometimes it's in that womb. Sometimes the trauma is our mothers or our
Yeah.
grandmothers or great grandmothers, and it's affecting us where we're not able to feel pleasure or we're not living our lives or we're acting a certain way and we're like, why am I doing this? Why am I acting like this? And it has nothing to do with you, or even sometimes I've had clients doing rebirthing. They realize in a past life something happened, and that trauma in the past life is affecting them in this current life. So it goes so deep. And so many times we don't even realize that we're working, that we're responding from a trauma
Mhm.
response. And we
Mhm.
think we're just acting in a day to day, but it
Yep.
might be a
Yep.
trauma.
So
So, and that's a huge thing that really blocks us from being able to live our best life, our healthiest life, our happiest life. And
mhm.
so, I'm happy that you're on here because I want to talk about, and people who's been following me on Instagram, if you're not following me on Instagram, go ahead and follow me, Prandaraprim_Tantra. I've been posting a lot of my stories, like doing my ginger shots, my juices, my journey, right? Because it's important for us. If we want to be our best life and healthy, not only is it important for us to be doing the somatic body work, the tantric work, the breath work, tantric massage, it's important what you're putting into your body. So
Mhm.
eating right, cutting out the sugar, the salt, the flour, the processed food, doing herbal medications and meditation. These are things that's so important for us to be able to live a healthy life and to
Mhm.
be happy and to have more pleasure, right? Because you could be doing all of this work, but then you're putting crap into your stomach, into your body, and now you're not feeling good. You're feeling depressed. You're feeling low energy or low libido, right? There's certain things like maca root that helps with libido. So there's so many different things that we could do to help us to live our best life and to work on trauma that we don't even realize is ours.
Mhm. Yeah. And now, like you said, down to the DNA.
Down to the DNA, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's the thing. So many of us don't even realize we're carrying that. So
Mhm.
yeah. So going into the herbalism,
Mhm.
because you're also an herbalist, and that's still pretty
Yes.
new for me. Like I said, I'm doing a
Yes.
course on that now. So how do you
Mhm.
incorporate that, like with people who is coming to
Oh
you,
yeah.
that maybe have like sexual dysfunction
Mhm.
or issues
Mhm.
or whatever?
Mhm.
Like, how do you incorporate the herbal work?
Yeah, definitely. Because I always say to my clients, I'm not a huge fan of meds. I understand sometimes we need to take the edge off, but it's like, if anything, I'm going to recommend some medication. So I
Yes.
incorporate that heavily into not only the tantra work, but also the therapy work. And so, like for example, I have a client who got schizophrenia. He said he did not want to take meds. Spirit was like, make him a pill, see what it do. He only hearing voices. So it's just like, but but working with spirit, coming from a line of medicine women and shamans and doctors in my bloodline. It's just a natural. I wasn't even intending to be a herbalist. One of my best friends, she transitioned. I was just, spirit was just giving me the concoction. She was creating it. So I
Oh,
was like, now I got to create it too. So I was like, okay, well, let me get into that in the creation. But when it comes to, like, for example, I just posted a new product today, for men, a libido, because I've had a lot of men reach out to me about needing their libido increase. So I was like, let me tap into spirit. Let me look in some of my herbal books and see what comes up. So then I made a libido capsule for a client of mine who has to increase his libido. So even if it's women, I'm going to make a concoction for women who, because I have a lot of women who have, as they will call it, arousal disorder. I don't like disorder, but I don't like that word. But the thing is, that can, using herbs for that, or enchanting, because not only do I make them, I enchant them, right? And then,
yes.
though my friend has transitioned, she and I still work together, and I pull her in because she was with Kemetic Reiki, so taught me a lot of symbols and different things that she used to enchant the herbs to make them do what they do. And so I've come to realize, it's so powerful that even in mental health, I make a depression and anxiety tea. I do all these things to assist clients holistically. So when it comes to sex and sexuality, whatever, as soon as they say something like, I don't want to take a pill, that's my caveat to be like, hey, I'm a herbalist, I make herbs. But when they read my profile, they know what they get. Exactly. So it's just kind of like, I use it as an opportunity, as another way to get the assistance that they need. And I can make it in tea form or capsule form. So
love it. I love it.
yes,
I can't wait to learn how to do all of that. I know the tea forms, and I just made my first tincture. So my first tincture that I made is for anxiety and stress. I'm letting it sit right now, so it's in, it's sitting. And enchantment is important, and I like that you said that, because you can buy herbs from anywhere, right? You can be like, oh, I can buy herbs from anywhere. But what sets you apart from someone else is your enchantment, your energy, right? And so, same thing. And people who might be drawn to my energy might not be drawn to yours. Or
exactly.
Yours might not be drawn to mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even though we might be making the same herbs, same things, it's going to be
different energy
because of that enchantment, that energy. So that's important. And I love that you said that, And so, y'all, y'all need to get some herbs. Go ahead and hit up the Tantric MFT.
Thank you. Yes. And all those sprays I had to do, even for therapists, do protection sprays and things like that, banishing sprays, because, we take on a lot day to day. So I used to have, now as I've grown more in my spiritual journey, I don't have to do as much as I used to have to do, but I have my candle, I have my water, I have my sprays, I have my, just because, and I officially opened the session and officially closed the session. Because listen, we deal with a lot.
And that's so important. That makes such a difference. Such a difference. Like, I'm always saging my Florida water. I will start to make my stuff, my little cleansing stuff.
Good. Yes.
It's important to spray us down. Like, it really is. And just taking spiritual baths. And I've been bad at that, but I've been saying, okay, I need to do that once a week, at least, working with people, just being around different
energy. And even energetically, right? And so, when you're working in, because I'm working in spirit all day now, it's to the point where sometimes I'm channeling, sometimes I'm not. It just depends. It's a flow. So everything becomes more integrated. But with that, like you said, it's having all those products and things like that, and things to help. Protection is, but that's a whole other thing in itself.
Part 2. So what's your daily routine like then? So like, what are you doing? Like, you wake up, because I tell people all the time, right? People are like, oh, I want to learn tantra. And I'm like, tantra is a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
You don't just go to a tantric class and then now you're a tantric practitioner. It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. You don't do tantra, you are tantra. You know what I mean? It's like, it's an embodiment of a thing. And, it's every day, it's a lifestyle. So for me, it's just kind of like, I got a little one, and so we coordinate that and get him to school. But usually one thing that I do, if I can't get to, like, if I'm at home, I'm going to sit in front of my altar and pray and meditate. I'll gladly explain that. But I meditate every day in front of my altar every day. Meditation and prayer, meditate. Really, that's the main thing. That's my lifestyle. And with that, spirit guides me. I try my best to make heart-based decisions, right? Because that's the seat of my soul.
Right.
So moving in that energy constantly.
Yeah.
Orgasmic state, yes. I don't know if people are familiar with the high level orgasm. It hasn't been the same since. So a couple years ago, I was in high level orgasm is like being in the peak of orgasm, but
Mhm.
you just there. You just
Right.
there. You're not coming down. So
Right.
I was in that state for 6 hours. I was
Wow.
overwhelmed. And so, but now that I've done it, now it's been, I mean, now it's regular for me. But at the time, it triggered me having um when I say orgasmic states, it's kind of like it's not full blown, it's levels to it. Now, some days I could be on a therapy session and I feel like I'm having a full blown orgasm. And orgasms, let me emphasize the difference here because people often can mistake climaxes for orgasm.
Yes.
Climax, I stimulate something physiologically long enough, it's going to be either an ejaculatory response or, clitoral response, whatever, because it's a stimulation there for those who are, blessed enough to have that experience. Uh, Orgasms, however, radiate from the heart and radiate throughout your entire body. I was orgasmic in my teeth. My
Wow.
teeth, my hair, everything was orgasmic. And so it's just kind of like the lived experience of experiencing yourself, the divine, right? But it's your own sexual energy bringing you there. So it literally feels like an orgasm, orgasmic
Mhm.
states, but it's levels to it. So now I say, oh, I feel aroused, like that feeling of arousal. Then you reach to a feeling of, oh, now this is pleasure. Boom, now it's orgasm. But now I'm so much to the point where only my healing partner can tell when I'm in that state. Chantal just knows. So in general, no one knows. I can be chilling here right now I'm talking about it, want to come on, but I can be talking and having a conversation and I'm literally feeling it in my body. So it literally feels like orgasm. I hope I explained that. So
I wonder if it feels like what a hot flash feels like. I don't know if you've been through menopause, but the hot
I've
flash
been,
is like this intense amount of heat coming up and filling up your body.
and it depends too, right? Yes, because I had to do a shot years ago because I have uterine fibroids, so I had to take this shot called Depo-Lupron, and so it made me perimenopausal, and I had tasted them hot flashes, and them things ain't no joke.
No, no,
I
oh
can
my
feel the heat
God.
radiating off my body, but with this, it's kind of like I feel it in my womb, and then it kind of spreads out. But sometimes it's a cooling sensation, sometimes it's a warm sensation, sometimes it's an electric sensation.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels wavy and watery. It just depends on where
Yeah.
my sexual energy is and what energy is intertwining with it sometimes. So like Mother Oshun, I say, I can feel her energy. I'm like, and I feel different, kind of more
Yes.
sensual and so, but yeah, it exists. And
It,
I can provide that experience as well. If you like it.
it's so funny
Yeah.
because obviously I experienced it as well, and it's so funny
Yeah.
because I've told people like I've just had the wind blow on myself
Mm-hmm.
and I'll have an orgasm. And like
Mm-hmm.
it's so funny because I'll just be walking and next thing you know, I go like this. And people are like, wait, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, nothing. No, like, is that
Yeah, it's like a little jerk. You're like, ooh.
yes. And so
Yeah.
I think most people when they hear orgasm, they think it has to look like what they've seen in the movies
Yes.
or on
Yes. Yes.
porn.
Yes.
And there's so many different levels. And so when you get to start to work with tantra and you become tantric, you can have like you were talking about there's peak orgasms, there's valley
Yeah.
orgasms, right? So there's
Mm-hmm.
different levels. And you can have multiple full body orgasms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
the orgasm can be from a subtle sensation to this
Mm-hmm.
very
Mm-hmm.
ooh, like you know what I'm saying? And so there's
Yes.
different levels. And so
Okay.
I've had the pleasure of experiencing the different levels as well in
Mm-hmm.
different times. And sometimes honestly, I might be like you're saying, like I'm just working, I'm talking to a
Mm-hmm.
client or I'm having a
Mm-hmm. It'll come out of
conversation
nowhere.
and it comes
Mm-hmm.
out of nowhere.
Yeah.
In my workshops, I've done a lot of cacao ceremonies.
Mm.
Really, like I got to,
Mm.
and I've posted some of the videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've done cacao ceremonies, and I've done breath work. And in doing the breath work, women, people, men will have orgasms right there, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like
Mm-hmm.
they're like, oh my God, all this sense of pleasure. And
Mm-hmm.
I just did, it was so funny. I love this. Like I did a workshop in DC this past September, and this lady came with her husband and her son. The son was 16. She was having full body orgasm. She was in pleasure.
Mhm.
And her son got so uncomfortable. He was like, the hell is going on? So he had to leave. The father took the son,
Mm.
and but the mother, she stayed. She was enjoying it, and I was like, I'm so glad you didn't allow yourself to come out.
Mm.
Now focus on your son, but your son was 16, so he was grown. He's old enough
Mhm.
to be like, let me step out because I'm not trying to see my mom experience
Mm.
this.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
Right, we get it. I get it. But I didn't. None of us planned for that. It just kind of
Yeah,
happened. This is a
absolutely.
cacao ceremony. Like in these ceremonies, like I do these cacao ceremonies all the time, and I do the breath work or I do something. And sometimes people get possessed. They
Mhm.
get messages.
Mhm. Mhm.
People have orgasms, like all kinds of different things, but it's all part of the healing process. So
Yes.
speaking of that, y'all, if y'all in the Atlanta area, my next Tantra Cacao Vibe ceremony is April 26th in Decatur Healing Arts Center. That's next Saturday, the 26th, from 2:30 to 5:30. It's gonna be great. We're gonna do cacao. We're gonna do some breath work. We're gonna do some movement, some tantric breath work, movement, dancing. So it's gonna be great. This Saturday,
Mhm.
the 12th, at 2:30, I'm gonna be doing a pop-up Hape Circle at Piedmont Park. So hit me up if you're interested in doing one of those two things. That's my info. Connect. Again, if you're not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe. I know somebody else made a comment. And those of you coming on, please say hello. Let us know if you have any comments, any questions. And Temperance says, wow, I didn't know that existed. I want to feel that. And so
Mhm.
it is. You will experience it because it's just saying you want to experience it. You're going to experience it because now you're going to do the research. You're going to do what
Mhm.
you need to do so you can get into that state.
Mhm. And it's opening the heart too. When you open the heart, it makes it even easier because heart is ends and begins. Tantra ends and begins in the heart.
Exactly. And that's why I love doing the cacao with my tantra now because cacao is very much for the heart space, opening the heart and allowing for emotional release. So I think the two of those combine really well together. Hi, Live Fit with B. All right. Thanks for doing this live. You are so welcome. Thanks for joining our live.
Mhm.
What's the best way to learn how to clear blockages and channel your sexual energy in specific ways? Really great question. I love that. Would you like to
Mhm.
go first or would you like me to go first?
Yeah, you could go ahead first. You go ahead. Yep, and then I'll follow right behind you. You give good answers.
Okay. Because I've been following behind you. So I've been
Yes, yes. No, it's good. No, it's good.
awesome. We'll switch it up. Okay. So for me, best way to clear blockages and channel your sexual energy in specific ways. So for me, somatic body work, like you talked about somatic,
Mhm.
connecting to your body. I'm really big on movement. So
Mhm.
anyone who's done work with me, I don't know where you live. I do virtual as well. You probably do virtual as well.
Mhm. I do.
Person.
Mhm.
So a lot of breath work, a lot of shaking. So what I do with clients, I do a lot of shaking, yelling, screaming, feeling in your body. I do regression as well. When I say regression, not necessarily past life, but kind of regression. It could be past life or just regression where you're going into a deep, relaxed, almost hypnotic state to see where the blockages are and releasing that. I do a lot of pranayamas. Um, I teach a lot of different breath works. One of the major ones that I love is a 4-7-8 breath. Breathing in for 4, holding for 7, exhaling for 8, because that gets you out of that fight or flight kind of response so you can be here in your body. And then journaling is really good. So because you're doing this work and then you have to journal or do something to now process, okay, what came up, what was I feeling? So those are some of the biggest things that I love to do. As we go deeper in like a tantric practice, there's specific breath works and exercises that I do to start to teach you how to channel your sexual energy. But first, I work with like those kind of breath works that I talked about, the 4-7-8, fire breath to really just kind of cleanse the energy, working a lot with the chakras, um, unlocking and balancing the chakras, and again, yelling, screaming, shaking. So I do a lot of that.
Mhm. That's great. Yes, definitely. And I would agree with a lot of those things there that was shared, as well as, I teach a concept to my clients. It's from Vedanta principle on witness consciousness. And
Mm-hmm.
so that in itself is so incredibly helpful in regards to the blockages piece, because I recognize that I'm greater than these things. And so when I recognize that I'm able to navigate it a little bit better. But it's not necessarily, it takes time. It's just an awareness thing. I just have to be aware that the screen is there. That's really what it is. But as it relates to that, most definitely it's kind of like, the body keeps score. And
Yeah.
so it's us being aware of what is there, right? And so me having to be in tune with my body, kind of what was shared earlier, when it comes to self, like what are the things that make me comfortable? What are the things that make me uncomfortable? And, so I can, in essence, I always use the term get out of my own way, because even when I started doing this tantra healing work and receiving, it took me months before I even felt anything energetically, because
Right.
I had so many things happening for me that they had to get pulled out of the way to bring me to the forefront. But I had to recognize what was there, right? And so a lot of introspection, a lot of self-work. Like I said, I'm really big on meditation and mindfulness. I'll easily sit in front of my altar for an hour. There's times I sat there 2 hours just going on a journey somewhere, not sure where I was, but I was somewhere. But just really learning about me and myself and what it was that I needed in order to truly realign myself, so that I can move some stuff out the way. And sexual energy, once again, the beauty of energy is intentionality. I don't
Mm.
necessarily have to have it. Specific techniques are necessary, right? But sometimes if I have the intentionality behind the thing, if I say, hey, I'm in this sexual energy, I want to heal these fibroids, then that's what we're going to do, right? And
Mhm.
so I just tell it what to do. When I'm in this sexual energy, I need to make sure that my son is okay at school today.
Yeah.
I'm in this sexual energy. Let me heal my heart. I'm in this sexual energy. Let me, whatever it is, but I'm telling it what to do when I'm in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it's me recognizing these barriers and being able to realign and heal through them, to
Yeah.
process, to know that it's there, and to not only release mentally and emotionally, but also through my body. That's where the somatic work comes in, and the
Yes.
tantric body work, and, even the heart work as well.
Yes, exactly. And tantric massage is great for that too.
Mm,
The
mm,
fit, I don't know where you live, but tantric massage, if you're able to get a
mm,
tantric massage. And one of the things that I say, um, you got to vet the person who does tantric massage, because there's a lot of people out there who do tantric massage and just kind of shady, they're taking advantage
misusing it.
of you. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm,
Abusing the work. So you got to be careful. You got to really, really make sure that you've gotten referrals. You know who this person is. You vet them out, feel their energy,
mhm,
ask
mhm,
ask for guidance if you should do a tantric massage with this person. But tantric massage is really, really great for clearing blockages and channeling your sexual energy.
mhm,
Um, um, Yoni breathing too is really good. I love working with yoni breathing. Oh, where are you in Mexico? I go to Mexico all the time. You was in Georgia. I'll have to research out here. We're in Mexico. I go to Playa del Carmen. There's a huge community out in Playa del Carmen and Tulum. There's two
mhm,
communities out there that has a lot of different healers. And there is a tantric person that works out there. I don't know personally, um, but there's someone out there. So yeah, let me know where in Mexico you are. DM me on IG. Oh, I'm
mhm.
waiting for you to come back. I'm between Playa and Cancun. Okay, yes. I did a retreat in oh, did you hear about this from the group? Because I sent this live in a group. Are you in one of those groups? One of the Mexico groups. So yeah, I did a retreat in Mexico last April. It was really good. I need to
Mhm.
do another one. I did it in Playa
Mm.
del Carmen.
Oh,
But yeah, I
yes.
come back. I go to Playa del Carmen often in Tulum. I'm in Atlanta
Mm.
right now, but I'm between Mexico and Brazil. So, oh yes, okay. Well, thanks for joining. I'm glad to know.
Nice.
And Mia, you're into. Am I saying it right, Mia? I guess it's Mia, right? Not Maya. Mia. Oh, and you're in Tulum. Are you in that group as well? I'm glad to know that. When I send this out in a group, that people actually see it, are interested. All right, so Mia and Live Fit, send me a message on IG, because then my IG is Prandar Prem underscore Tantra. So I can let y'all know when I come back to Mexico, because I'm planning something again. Um, And the tantric massage is really, really good for that, like to clear blockages and help you learn how to move and channel that energy up. So yeah, send me a DM. Awesome. All right, let's tackle one last question before we go.
Mhm.
Um, I like this one.
Mhm.
Why is pleasure important on the healing journey, and how can we reclaim it as sacred?
Mm. Why
Yes.
is pleasure important on the healing journey? Yes, because for me, I'm a believer in doing things with purpose, right? So if I'm going to be in pleasure, am I healing? Is my heart better? Am I a better person in the world? Am I, you know what I mean? Like, not pleasure for the sake of pleasure, but pleasure with purpose. And that's my personal purview. And so for me, pleasure is very important in life from a space of healing, from a space of being a better person, from a space of having a light heart. And I mean light heart, like my aunt said, and I learned from her, not just light as a feather, but illuminated light.
Yeah.
So like that, if pleasure is bringing me there, that's where I want to be, and so that's how I see it, right? And how pleasure should be, or how it is helpful to have it incorporated in life. And then the second piece, what was the second part? That part was good too.
Okay. Why is pleasure important on the healing journey, and how can we reclaim it as sacred?
Mm, yes, the spirit, when you connect it with spirit, it's all right. And so like I was studying like Magdalene Mary manuscripts, Mary Magdalene, and some of the things, her experiences with Yeshua, Virgin Mary, like I learned so much about how they lived in pleasure in their lives and that it was sacred for them, right? Like even Virgin Mary was an incarnate of Osset or Isis. Her energy, Isis has powerful sexual energy that Virgin Mary herself had to harness. That's sacred, right? Like think about people, oh, Virgin Mary, that woman held a lot of sexual energy. That's what I know. And
Mhm.
so Mary Magdalene, Yeshua, he was able to do what he was able to do because of sexual energy. So that's what makes it sacred, right? That's how we can make it sacred. And it's not just to go from a Christian purview. I'm just saying worldly. You look at Vedanta, even sexual energy and Oja, and being able to, increase your satis, your shadis, as they say, using sexual energy. So all those things, that's how we can make it sacred. That's how we can use that energy to heal others that I've seen, in my work. I know in the work that I do with my healing partner, people literally transforming on the table.
Mhm.
Sexual energy, healing energy, right? Through the heart, through the soul, all of it. So that's how I can look at it from my purview. And to me, it's about recognizing and seeing our own light and our own divinity, and through pleasure, sensuality, sexuality, heart, right? Because I can have heart orgasms are the best ever. I like those better than full body. All those things to experience the divine is
Yeah.
the in my own divinity in that pleasure and in those priceless. You can't
Yes.
beat
I love that. Thank you so
it.
much. Thank you so much. Okay, so why is pleasure important on the healing journey, and how can we reclaim it as sacred? Yeah, so for me, I'm gonna try to answer that too. So I'm like, let me
Yeah,
read
yeah.
that. Because I also feel like I loved everything you said. So I'm like, okay, what can I say now? I
Yeah.
love everything you said. So, one of the things that comes to mind to me right now, I have a client who's always like punishing herself. And she's thinking that, everything comes to her so easily. And so somehow she has to like punish herself. And I'm like, so many people think that there has to be pain for them to grow. Um, and so that's not the case. It's almost like we feel like we have to be a martyr, right? To be a good person or whatever. But pleasure is so important on this journey of healing ourselves. And so I remember I have a naturopathic doctor, iridologist friend, and she said to me, Pandara, if you are struggling, because I've been trying to so I had fibroids, and I might still have them, I don't know, but I don't have the symptoms anymore. But because of the fibroids, like my cycle was lasting like 8 days, very painful. I was spotting when I wasn't on my cycle, like every day. And now, then my cycle went to like 3-4 days. Um, from changing my diet. And in the beginning, it was a struggle, right? It was such a struggle because I would go, I would talk to her and I'd be like, oh my God, I want to eat this and I can't eat this. And she's like, look, it's a process. You don't have to overnight change your diet. And she's like, if you're going to be fighting and in so much pain to not eat something, it's going to do more damage to your body than good. So she's like, if you want to eat it in this moment, eat it. And then go slow, right? And so I was like, oh, okay. And I probably needed to hear that because I'm a Virgo and I'm very critical and I'm very hard on myself. And so that's the thing. Like when I started not putting that pressure on myself and inflicting that pain and saying, and getting in touch with the pleasure, getting in touch with the pleasure of my body and saying, okay, what is the pleasure coming from this? Okay, so how can I recreate that in another meal that doesn't have the meat that's going to cause my fibroids to grow, right? And so I started recreating it and making and eating other healthier things, and I started getting pleasure from that. And so for me is, pleasure is very, very, very important. Pleasure is also another way of learning learning who you are and what you love and learning about your body, right? And just being able to have pleasure in different ways. And when in my mind, when I say pleasure and I'm thinking about pleasure, it's not just with penetration sex, it's pleasure in eating. It's pleasure in conversation. Like, I've learned that I'm compersionistic. Compersion is when you have pleasure from seeing someone else have pleasure. And so now I'm having pleasure having this conversation with Dr. Candice. And this is healing, right? And seeing her smile right now when I said that gives me pleasure and that's healing, right? Like, so it's important. And so we have to understand again that pleasure is a healing tool, and this is something that is sacred. This is something that we have a right to experience for us to grow.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then you made a great point about seeing other people in pleasure. It's like, woo, be in the zone. But it's like this woman shared, she says she makes love to life. And they was like, we can't eat her food. We gonna be in an orgasmic state, but she makes love to her food. She's like, I make love to everything that I do.
Yes. Yes, that's it. That's it. Making love to everything you do. That's what life is about. Yes. Love this. Love this. So, any last tips or anything you can give for people to connect to get into their pleasure or their ritual or anything to get on this healing journey? Anything you
I just say the biggest thing is being in touch with you, right? Spending time with you, being stillness. And that's where, like I said, my prayer and meditation, I stand by it. Stillness, to learn you, to understand you. And that's how I learned about that breath from Oshun. Breathe it to my heart, and I teach women that, like, put it into your womb space. I had a client last week, she was like, oh, what is that? That's your own energy. So it's just really tapping into you, and we don't have to lean on anybody else for our own pleasure. It is ours to own. I am the master of my own pleasure. I'm responsible for our own pleasure. It is mine. A partner can be the cherry on top and assist in the pleasure, but it is my pleasure. So to always remember that we are powerful beyond measure in that, and we are more than capable to be able to have access to ourselves and our own pleasure and our sexual energy and sensual energy.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I love it. I love it. And thank you, Temperance. Thank you for coming on and watching. And so I just want to piggyback on what you said. I totally agree with everything that you said. Like, and that's actually where I'm at right now. Like, everything is telling me I need to sit in stillness and in silence and more. Because I do it. I meditate every day, but I need to sit in it more and longer. And when you were like an hour, 2 hours, I was like, that's what I need.
Yeah.
And it's so easy for me to do the movement and the breath work, right? Like, but it's the sitting in the stillness and the silence. And so, that's one of the things that I will leave off with is having that balance, right? Of being in the stillness, resting, because that's important, as well as doing the somatic, the body work, the breath work, the movement, the sound releasing, so that and having a practice where you're doing every day. So every day I'm doing something. Every day is not the same thing because I get into my ADHD and I can't handle doing the same thing every day. So I do
Gets
something
redundant.
every day.
Yeah.
So I might do a qigong
Yeah.
today,
Mhm.
Kundalini yoga
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Then I'm doing my breath work. Then I'm doing Kundalini shaking, Kundalini meditation, doing some pranayamas. I'm doing some sound mantras. I'm doing different things every day, but that's how I need to do it
Mhm.
right now for me.
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
and I sit in meditation, and I also sometimes I'll do a hape meditation. Sometimes I'll
Mhm.
drink my
Those are great too.
cacao. So
Mhm.
so those are things that's important. And if you are in the Atlanta area this Saturday in Piedmont Park, I'm going to be doing a pop-up hape circle. That link is in my bio. It's also going to be the Dogwood Festival. So if you're going to want to go to both, maybe come to me first and then go to Dogwood Festival, or go to Dogwood Festival, then come to me and do the hape circle. And then on the 26th, I'm going to have a cacao ceremony in Decatur Healing Arts. So, and then January 27th, I have my retreat in Brazil, Awakening the Spirit Retreat. And that retreat is for men and women. So check that out. Follow me on Instagram, as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel for more information. And so, Candice, Dr. Candice, do you have anything that's going on that you'd like to share? Or
Yeah, well, it's a couple of things happening because I got my hood works with, but we're rolling out a couple of beta groups and even under the two ladies, some classes. And the hood works are for therapists who want to become energy healers as well. And so I we did finished our first beta group over the weekend. So doing some of those classes, a lot of focus on teaching, trying to be a CE provider for ASEC. Doing some stuff for therapists, some CE trainings and things of that nature, and some events, but it hasn't come into fruition. But I'm definitely on this teaching thing right now. So teaching some Reiki, some tantras, heart work stuff, so be on the lookout. Doing some classes and some
all right.
certifications.
All right, and don't and one-on-ones, individual sessions, right?
Yes,
Individual.
individual sessions. Yeah, tantra, heart work, past life regression, soul retrieval. I do it spring qigong, Reiki, a whole bunch of stuff. So
Right.
all things energy and
Right.
therapy.
Okay. That's right. So we both do it all, like a lot.
Yes,
Like,
yes, yes, yes,
between
yes.
herbalism, qigong,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do
yeah,
Kundalini activation healing as well. Reiki, we
yeah,
both
yeah,
do Reiki.
yeah, yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
so yeah,
Definitely. And
one.
readings as well too, oracle readings, intuitive readings, medical intuitive readings for people. So yeah, which readings I know everybody, I understand why everybody don't want to do them. But it's like, it comes with some stuff too.
Okay, good,
Yes,
good,
yes.
awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on this
Thank
live with
you
me
for
today.
having me. Thank
Thank you
you.
all for watching. Lots of love. So next week on the 16th, will be my next live. And I was gonna try to look for what the name is gonna be. um Goddess Awakening, connecting with your inner goddess. So next week on the 16th, I'm going to be doing a live connecting to your inner goddess with oral Clem's gems, oracle gems. So check that out. Look for us and continue. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you can get the notifications for when my next live is coming up. And don't forget to share this so people can catch the replay. All right, you guys have a great night. And thank you so much for coming on and joining this live. Love you
Thank
all.
you for having me. Bye.
Bye. Peace.